Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 309 Jones versus Miocic is happening this weekend, and I'm going to be going through all the fights on the card. Here's your card. We got the nice co-main with Charles Olivera, Bo Nickel on there, Mauricio Rufy, Fighting Nerd, and a bunch of other good fights. Starting off with the first fight, we got Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora. This is an interesting matchup. Veronica Hardy is definitely a stand-up specialist. She's really just well-versed in the boxing, while Eduardo Mora is more well-versed on the ground, kind of a mauler. She's got a good ground and pound, and that's the game plan that she's going to want to put in place during this fight. If she can get Veronica Hardy to the ground, I think she's going to be able to dominate her there. Veronica Hardy can fight off of her back. She isn't bad, but Eduardo Mora is just really good with the smothering and the wrestling. And I mean, she's 10-1, and that's kind of the strategy she's used every time. I would see this fight going to Mora, but if it stays on the feet, I could see Veronica Hardy taking it by stand up. On to the next, we got Basil Chavez versus Oban Elliott. Basil Chavez, super exciting fighter. He actually had a fight, his first fight, I believe, against Jack Della Maddalena. And he came into the fight on short notice and actually gave Jack Della Maddalena a good fight. Granted, he did get the snot beat out of him, but it was a good fight. He was touching him up and he was taking him down. As we know, JDM is definitely a title contender, so JDM did win that fight. But he has a lot of power and he's got an incredible gas tank. He just keeps going. And when he looks like he's tired, he just keeps going. Kind of like DDP. He just never quits, and it's super fun to watch. Oban Elliott, on the other hand, pretty good all around, but that's all he is. He's just pretty good. Oban Elliott, he's good on the ground, he's good on the feet, but he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the most dangerous. And I think Basil Chavez is going to take advantage of this and put the pressure on him as he does in all of his fights. I think he's going to land the bigger strikes. I think he's going to put Oban Elliott on his heels. And I think he might win by knockout or TKO. I really don't see Oban Elliott being the better man in this fight. I think Basil Chavez is going to come out on top. So that's my pick. Basil Chavez, KO or TKO. On to the next. We got Mickey Gall versus Ramiz Brahimaj. I'm taking Mickey Gall in this fight. Although Mickey Gall has had a tough past few fights and not come victorious in many of them, neither is Ramiz Brahimaj. Mickey Gall did actually fight the previous guy, Basil Chavez, and did spark him a few times with some good shots. It was a really good version of Mickey Gall that, we haven't been seeing. But like I said, Basil Chavez is a gnarly fighter, and he did come out on top. But Mickey Gall did spark his chin a few times, and he's not on the feet, and he's not that bad on the ground. Ramiz Brahimaj, on the other hand, he's kind of just okay all around. He's not super active on the feet or on the ground. I just don't really see how Brahimaj could win this one. I'm going to have to take Mickey Gall by decision. On to the next, we got Marcin Tybura versus Jonata Deniz. There's two ways this fight can go. If it stays on the feet, it's going to be a coin toss on who catches whose chin first. Both these guys have crazy power, and if they catch your chin, it's just over. That's just how it is. But Marcin Tybura has a pretty decent ground game while Deniz does not. If Marcin Tybura gets Deniz to the ground, which I would imagine is in his game plan, I think he's going to dominate him there, throwing lots of ground and pound, smothering, and possibly even getting a submission. All it depends on is if he can get that takedown. And from the past few fights that I've seen from Deniz, I think Burra has the skills and ability to take Deniz down. So I'm going to take Burra by TKO or decision. But if it stays on the feet, I mean, you never know. Deniz could knock him out in the first 10 seconds. Both these guys have crazy power. But yeah, I'm taking Tabura by TKO or decision. On to the next. David Onama versus Lucas Almeida. David Onama is currently looking for an opponent. Lucas Almeida dropped out of the fight. I'm curious if they'll give him a good matchup by Saturday. David Onama is a great fighter, super fun to watch. He had that really awesome fight against Nate Landwehr, and I would love to see him fight. Hopefully, he can get an opponent in there last minute, but as of right now, he's still looking for an opponent. On to the next. We got Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. Okay, here we go, getting into some bigger names. Jim Miller, grizzled vet, has had an amazing career. And I think he's got this fight by whatever he wants. Jim Miller, his last fight against Bobby Green, he did take a bunch of damage. That's because you're fighting Bobby Green, and Bobby Green does have some good striking. It was also 300, and they had that giant bonus, so I'm guessing Jim Miller did want to stand a little more just in case he had the chance to get that bonus. I feel like he should have tried to take Bobby Green down a little bit more. Even though he took a bunch of damage during that Bobby Green fight, he also did spark Bobby Green a few times in that fight. He still got the power and he still got the boxing that he's always had. He did look a little more flinchy than normal, which was a little alarming and probably explains why he got caught a few times by Bobby Green. But hey, if I was Jim Miller, I would have been pretty flippin' flinchy too, fighting Bobby Green. Damon Jackson, on the other hand, good all around, and that's pretty much it. He's good. He is a little bit younger, and that does play a role. I mean, Jim Miller is really getting pretty old now for being a fighter, but in his fights, he just does everything right, and I don't see how Damon Jackson could get one up on Jim Miller in this fight. I mean, I'm guessing he's going to try to keep him at range and use his rangy fighting style to land strikes, but I think Jim Miller's going to be able to close the distance very effectively and efficiently and clip Damon Jackson or even take him to the ground and submit him. I got Jim Miller by whatever he wants. On to the next. We got Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Pretty interesting matchup. Chris Weidman, great fighter, used to be a champ. He's getting a little older now. He's got great striking combinations, great wrestling, but you can't deny it. He has looked a little off since he snapped his leg. Eric Anders, on the other hand, also a great fighter, great striking, and pretty decent wrestling. I really don't know who to pick for this fight, but I want to say Chris Weidman. I really hope he can bring back that wrestling and out wrestle Eric Anders. Eric Anders is an athlete. He's got a great gas tank, and he's a great fighter. It's so hard to pick with this one. I really don't know who to pick, but I want to say Chris Weidman. Yeah, I really don't know. We're gonna say Chris Weidman. I could see this one going either way, though. It's kind of a toss-up fight. We're gonna go Chris Weidman by wrestling. On to the next. We got Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee. This is going to be an awesome fight. Jonathan Martinez, great stand up specialist, got one of the deadliest leg kicks in the bantamweight division. He even has, I think he has 2 leg TKOs, which I think he's only one of 3 to have multiple leg TKOs. His leg kicks are disgusting. He's super fast and he's just so freaking good. Marcus McGee, on the other hand, he's also very good. An extremely good kickboxer with a lot of power. Not as much power in the leg kicks as Jonathan Martinez, but a lot of power in the striking altogether. He's very big for the division. So what you're betting on with this fight is speed or strength. And I think that strength is going to win this fight. I think Marcus McGee is going to land the bigger, heavier shots on Jonathan Martinez, put him on his heels, and you do not want to be on your heels against Marcus McGee because once you get up against the cage, he's going to explode with huge powerful strikes, kicking you in the head, kicking you in the body, punching you in the gut, punching you in the face. Once he gets you against the cage, it's very bad news. And I think Marcus McGee is going to be able to put Jonathan Martinez against the cage and either knock him out or win by taking him down and beating him into a TKO. I got Marcus McGee on this fight. On to the next. On to the main card. We got Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. This is going to be a slaughter. This is unfortunately a slaughter of the lamb. Mauricio Rufy, a literal ninja. If you haven't seen his last fight, you should go watch it. He has insanely powerful striking and some very unorthodox strikes. He's got that weird spin around, put his leg in between yours and trip you. He's got a drop and kick your leg. He's literally a ninja in the lightweight division with all that power. And he's a fighting nerd. And since I'm an unofficial fighting nerd, I gotta bet on Mauricio Rufy. I mean, look at the odds. Minus 750, plus 525 for James Lontop. James Lontop also did take this fight on short notice, and that's just such a scary decision. I mean, if James Lontop can get the win, that would be incredible, but I just really don't see it happening in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to have to take Mauricio Rufy by whatever he wants in this fight, and I'm guessing a knockout. On to the next. We got Vivian Arujo versus Karini Silva. I have no idea how this made it onto the main card. These ladies must both be ranked. But Vivian Araujo is just not that good in my opinion. She's not that active. She doesn't have the best striking. She doesn't have the greatest groundwork. Karine Silva, on the other hand, has great striking at the distance, and she likes to pull her opponents in, take them down, and then use her groundwork to submit them. She's got a lot of submissions, and I think she's got a few TKOs as well. I got Karine Silva by literally whatever she wants in this fight. Vivian Araujo really hasn't evolved in this sport at all, and I just don't see any way in which she could win this fight. Karine Silva by whatever she wants. On to the next. We got Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Look at the odds, bro. Minus 1,000 for Bo Nickel and plus 650 for Paul Craig. I think this is another slaughter of the Lamb. Paul Craig being the Lamb. Bo Nickel, what's he going to try to do in this fight? That's all I'm wondering. Is he going to try to submit Paul Craig, or is he going to try to knock him out? I got a feeling he's going to try to spark him and knock him out. Paul Craig really doesn't have the best stand-up game, and Bo Nickel has some pretty good striking. He's got a lot of power in those hands. But of course, he's also got the incredible groundwork. So if it does go to the ground, Bo Nickel, I can just see him destroying him there. On the feet, I see Bo Nickel destroying him there. I really don't see any way in which Paul Craig could one-up Bo Nickel in this fight. I mean, he is an older guy, and he's known for his groundwork, and you can never count out old man jiu-jitsu. But I really just don't see any sort of old man sneaky submission catching Bo Nickel. I'm taking Bo Nickel by whatever he wants. On to the next. Here we go. Charles Olivera versus Michael Chandler. I think this fight is going to go exactly the same way that the first fight did. The exact same game plan on both sides. Michael Chandler's been gone for a while. Charles Oliveira fought at 300, losing to Arman Saruki and almost catching him in that rear naked choke, but he did take the loss. I want to say Charles Olivera since I love Charles Olivera, but you can't lie. Michael Chandler is extremely scary, and I don't know why, but I got a weird feeling about this fight, and a weird feeling that it might go the other way than it went the first time. Does anybody else feel like that? Is anybody else a little scared for Oliveira? I mean, whenever you're fighting Michael Chandler, you gotta be scared because he has so much power. I mean, he clipped Charles Oliveira in that first fight, and then, of course, almost TKO'd him by the end of that first round, and then Charles Oliveira came out second round and sparked Michael Chandler. But it's just such a scary fight for both fighters. I love Charles Oliveira and I really want him to win. But part of me wants to take Michael Chandler. I don't know why I feel like this. Maybe I've just been seeing too many Instagram and Twitter posts from Michael Chandler where he's looking just super jacked. You know what? Screw it. We're taking Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, Charles Du Bronx, illuminated by God. Charles Oliveira is going to beat Michael Chandler in this fight. Hopefully. Hopefully. Oh, it's going to be such a good fight, and I cannot wait. How do I think Charles Oliveira is going to win it? Yeah, knockout? Or maybe submission? I don't know. This is so scary. We're going to say Charles Oliveira by submission. We'll switch it up from the first fight. He's going to submit Michael Chandler this fight. That's what I'm going with. Charles Oliveira by submission in whatever round he feels necessary. On to the next. Johnny Bones versus Stipe Miocic, the fight that we've been waiting for a long time. Now, like everybody else, I think there are other fights that people would want to see from John Jones. But you know what? We're living in the present right now, so we got to talk about this one. I think I'm gonna side with everybody pretty much in the entire UFC MMA community and say that John Jones wins this by whatever he wants. But I think people are kind of sleeping on Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight goat. I mean, I'm nearly positive John Jones is going to win this fight, but I feel like just people are sleeping on Stipe too much. I guess what I'm betting on at this point is that it's going to be a good fight and that John Jones will win, not that Stipe will win. I'm betting it'll be a good fight and it will surprise people at how great Stipe Miocic is. I mean, yeah, there's really no other way to put it. People are sleeping on Stipe, but yeah, John Jones. I mean, he just like it's literally MMA GOAT versus heavyweight GOAT. So what are you gonna pick? You know, the greatest of all time in the sport or the greatest of all time in the division. I feel like you just have to pick the greatest of all time in the sport. As for how he will win, I can see it by whatever he wants. I can see him sparking Stipe's chin and just knocking him out clean, or submitting him on the ground, doing what he does best, which is pretty much everything. I hate to be that guy to plays John Jones, but it's just he's undeniable. You can't deny it. He's the greatest of all time, bro. I'm starting to sound like Dana White here. So yeah, John Jones by whatever he feels necessary. And now I'm just, I'm excited for the fight, but what I'm excited for is what is said on the mic afterwards because what's John Jones gonna say on that mic when he almost undeniably pretty much he wins. He's gonna win. What's he going to say on the mic? Is he going to retire then and there? Is he going to say he's taking a break? What I hope happens is he goes, imagine this, right? He comes up to Joe Rogan. They're talking about the win and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. You're the greatest of all time. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Joe. And then he goes, "Hey, Tommy." Oh my gosh. Dude, if he calls out Tom Aspinall, I might poop my pants right then and there. At the same time though, I could see him calling out Tom Aspinall on the mic. I mean, all this beef that these guys have had over the past, who even knows how long, year, a matchup between those two would be such a big pay-per-view, and it would almost have the same vibe as John Jones versus DC, I want to say. But, John Jones has said multiple times that he's not trying to fight Tom Aspinall and that, Tom Aspinall hasn't done anything. And he even said that he would rather fight Alex Pereira, which in my opinion, I think would be an even bigger fight than Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. John Jones versus Alex Pereira, I mean, that's a super fight. Alex Pereira going to try and be the first fighter to win 3 division titles in the UFC. That's just more of a super fight, in my opinion, than John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I love Tom Aspinall, and I do feel that he deserves the fight against John Jones. But when it comes to, oh my gosh, people are gonna get mad about this, but when it comes to legacy and money, I really think John Jones versus Alex Pereira is more significant than John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I would love to see him fight either of them, and who knows? He could retire here and never fight again. I really hope he takes one more fight because this isn't the legacy fight to end your career on. I mean, it is, but it isn't at the same time. And if he fought either of those guys, this might be controversial, but I think it's fair to say that I think John Jones beats either of them. I mean, Tom Aspinall, he could chin John Jones and finish him in the first round like how he does to all his other opponents, but John Jones just so rangy and so lanky and just the GOAT of all time, bro. Like I just don't really see I do see Tom Aspinall winning, but I see John Jones winning 9 out of 10 times. And as for John Jones versus Alex Pereira, it's the same thing. I don't think it would even stay on the feet for 30 seconds. I think John Jones would immediately take him down and just out wrestle him. He's going to be bigger. And yeah, John Jones, I think he wins this fight. And I think he wins whatever fight he takes next. And yeah, UFC 309. Gonna be a fun card. Can't wait to see it. See everybody later. Peace.